This is going to be quite possibly the best quick hitter pros and cons video of Fort Collins that is on the market today. It started with a simple question. What is the most important to ask yourself before moving to Fort Collins? And we're gonna dive into some of the questions that I considered, but ultimately, what is the most important question to ask yourself before making that jump to Northern Colorado and Fort Collins? My name is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate Services here in Fort Collins, and this is the Living in Fort Collins YouTube channel, where you're gonna come to learn everything there is about Northern Colorado and Fort Collins, eating, sleeping, playing, and important questions to ask yourself when considering making the move. And when you talk about making a move, we are licensed real estate agents in the state of Colorado. So if you're considering making the jump, or if you're already here, moving around town, buying, selling, or investing, give us a call, text, or email. And my team would love to help you. I think we've dialed in our systems and are an excellent asset to add to your team when making those big decisions. Without any further delay, let's jump into today's video. The first and most important question to ask yourself when making the move to Fort Collins, Colorado. Let's go. So again, I started asking myself some questions of like what I thought might be the most important question to ask yourself before making this jump. And one of them was, are you okay with population growth? Because, well, Fort Collins has a population of about 180,000 people, and it's a smaller community comparatively to Dallas's or Los Angeles's, Boston's, New York's, Chicago's. We have a much smaller population than those cities, but we have seen pretty dramatic population growth really over the last, well, since we've started in the 1880s, incorporated into the United States, and we don't see that necessarily slowing down. We do have a max population in our growth management area of about 250,000 people. So probably once we get there, people are going to start to be pushed out to the outer areas in town. But that being said, really any popular place to move that's on a best places to live or best places to move are seeing decent population growth with the ability to remote work. So we kind of moved on from there. And then my next thought was like, all right, you're moving to Fort Collins. Do you want to live west of I-25 or east of I-25? So many questions that we get asked are, hey, we want to see the mountains. We want to be close to the mountains. And sometimes seeing the mountains is better east of I-25, but being close to the mountains, able to ride your bike west of I-25 is the answer. But really, we thought that was a decent question. And we kind of moved from there to, well, Fort Collins is known for Old Town Square, but really Fort Collins is probably 80% suburban and 20% downtown. So if you're looking at moving somewhere where you're really never gonna have to get into your car, can walk everywhere, might even need a car, Fort Collins probably isn't it. We are a very commuter-driven city. And so the understanding that Fort Collins is about 80% suburban and 20% downtown, kind of a metro area, was important to understand. But again, maybe just wasn't that number one or most important question to ask yourself. And so we thought, hey, what's the backbone of Fort Collins? And it's Colorado State University. We are a college town. No matter what, we will always be focused. Our base, one of our biggest employers is CSU. A lot of our median age is around 30 years old because it's so heavily driven by 30,000 kids that are on campus. But hey, we are also more than a college town, but it's important to those understanding that, yeah, CSU is a big part of Fort Collins, but not everything about Fort Collins. So we thought, okay, those are great. And really the most important question that I think you could ask yourself is Fort Collins right for me? And when I got to thinking about that, I was thinking about, all right, what is Fort Collins? What are the pros and cons of Fort Collins? And rather than just diving into everything, I'm gonna do a word vomit of what those pros and cons are, starting with the cons. And then from there, it's like, man, this seems like my vibe. Or no, honestly, all of that sounds awful. I'm gonna stay in Topeka, Kansas, because I just love it here for XYZ reason. So let's jump in. Is Fort Collins right for me? Here are some cons. It's a slower paced community. It really is gonna be shut down on a Wednesday evening, probably no later than 9:30. And if your jam is to get out and go have drinks on a nightly basis after work, stay late, Fort Collins is definitely gonna be a slower paced community. The cost of housing is probably one of the first things that people talk about when moving to Northern Colorado. It's more expensive than many of our Midwestern states neighbors and city neighbors. And whether it's renting or buying, Fort Collins and Northern Colorado is definitely expensive on the housing front. It's a 50 to 60 minute drive to DIA. So if you're making that commute daily to the airport or weekly or at least, a few times a month, it could get to be a point where it's a little bit annoying. But I would say we are on the right side, the north side of Denver, and E470 is going to jump you right there. So it did cut a significant amount of time, hassle, and traffic out of your way. But we are about 50 to 60 minutes from significantly the third busiest airport in the country or in the world. We have 4 distinct seasons here in Fort Collins. So if you despise winter, well, it could start as early as September, getting our first snow, and really go as late as June. Now, generally speaking, our coldest months are going to be December, January, and February. So you could also be golfing in the middle of December. But if you just want a more kind of consistent, hot, warm temperatures, your southern states are probably going to be a better bet for you. Speaking of winter, if you don't like shoveling or if you're concerned about shoveling, you will have to shovel your driveway. If you're probably going to see anywhere between 7 to 14 snowstorms a year, which are going to equate to 10 to 20 snow shovels each and every year. So if you don't like that, you don't want to wake up early, which I would recommend, especially if you have a north-facing driveway, you got to wake up early and get that snow off the driveway. We do not have a ton of private school options. So if you want a specific curriculum, you're going to be limited to your options. You're going to have to build or create friend networks here. If you're not moving into the community and you already have a group of friends, you're going to have to intentionally build it because it is going to be, definitely a smaller town. You're going to have to be actively engaged and trying to find those friends and groups to get involved with. Which, to get involved with those friends and groups, you're probably going to have to drive. Fort Collins is a strong commuter community. Probably anywhere between 7 to 15 minute drive on a daily basis if you're working within town. Are you good with a windy spring? It could absolutely blow your hat off at times. Now, some springs like this last one really wasn't too windy, but 2 springs ago, it was just annoying. We had a spring that just consistently blew strong winds. And strong winds on an altitude that's higher, you gotta be okay with a high altitude. Colorado is the highest mean altitude state in the United States, and you will feel that because you're gonna be closer to the sun, altitude, the air is gonna be thinner. You need to make sure you're okay with that. Which also, wind, hail, they seem to go together. We could absolutely have hailstorms in late spring, early summer, and sometimes you could have a late summer hailstorm as well. It's gonna be ultra dry, so you're gonna need to bring lotion. You're gonna need to oil up them joints. If you like the humidity, if you like the Floridas, the Texas, you like the humidity, Fort Collins is a dry, arid desert climate. Again, we have a younger median age, around 30 years old. We have 30,000 kids that are college age, 18 to 22. A lot of young professionals, young families. We do have some retired folks, but we do have a younger median age here, which if you have a younger median age, you probably don't have a ton of restaurants that are Michelin ranked and 5-star type restaurants because, well, the median age probably just can't afford it. So our options of high-end restaurants are pretty limited. And you don't have a ton of shopping. You do have Old Town, which is just absolutely phenomenal. And you have a redeveloping mall, but our shopping is limited. If you want some of the apples, the Patagonias, at least for now, they're not here. Now with the redevelopment of the mall, who knows what comes in there? We actually did a fun podcast with the developer of that mall. You should absolutely go have a listen to that if you haven't. But we don't have a ton of shopping and high-end shopping, or maybe if you're used to a New York or Los Angeles, the shopping won't be as strong or nice here locally. And you're gonna have consistent road construction on I-25. We are a growing area here in Northern Colorado. Probably we're upwards to 1 million people here in the next 5 to 10 years when you take into consideration Weld and Larimer County. And I-25 is our main artery connecting us to downtown in Denver, which is a huge economic partner to Northern Colorado. And so we are trying to widen the lanes, keep up with the population growth, but it seems like consistently we are having construction on I-25, which, speaking of traffic, you are also going to have to be okay parlaying on winter, wind, hail, snow, driving on roads during snowstorms, and maybe waking up and having the roads generally are plowed. But that being said, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, so you're gonna have to drive through a little bit of snow. It's like just 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Definitely not rear-wheel drive, but that's another story. So those are all things that on the con side of it, you're gonna have to consider. And am I okay living with this? But along with those, are you going to enjoy all of the pros? Are you going to enjoy the Tour de Fat parade? It comes around once a year. It just happened at the end of August. You're gonna bike from City Park to New Belgium and it's a party. People are dressed up. It's one of the most popular things in Fort Collins, Colorado. Are you going to enjoy the Peach Festival that comes around on an annual basis? We love our Palisade peaches. Our Rotary Club puts on a peach festival that you can go down and enjoy. There's lots more of those festivals, music fests, and all those types of things here in Northern Colorado and up and down the Front Range that are you going to take advantage of? Are you gonna go rafting or tubing down the Pooter? Actually, I just went tubing down the Pooter for the first time in my life, and it's just out the back door. We left at noon. I was back home at 4. We spent 2 hours on the river, and it was just a blast. Are you gonna go tubing down the river? Now, of course, be safe, considerate, and things of that nature, depending on the season. You don't want to go in the early spring with the high runoff, but maybe, mid-June, July, the waters are going to be, tame enough to where you can get on there safely. Then are you going to head up after tubing up to the Mishawaka for a concert, put your feet in the water, have a lunch, or take your time down at Washington's, a brand new, a renovated older building that has world-class musical facilities and bringing great concerts. Fort Collins, the Bohemian Foundation, is known for its arts and music. Are you gonna go hiking around Laurie State Park, Horsetooth Mountain, up and around Bobcat Ridge? Are you going to take advantage of the hiking that is in and around our Front Range and through those hills? Or are you gonna go mountain biking? I actually went mountain biking for the first time and I tore up the right side of my body. I should show a picture of it. Maybe we can provide one, but it was so much fun and I can't wait to do more of it. But these are activities that are just out your back door. Speaking of which, 2 hours away, world-class skiing. 3 hours away, really world-class skiing when you talk about Breckenridge, Vail, Copper, Keystone, Steamboat. You can go to Eldora, that's a little closer, but skiing is out your back door and people drive and fly from all over the world to spend time in the Colorado mountains. And then during the summer, they're gonna not just go hiking, they're gonna go boating at Horsetooth Reservoir. Yeah, it can get a little packed for sure, but there is outdoor activity. Go wake surfing, wakeboarding, water skiing, just have a joy on the lake. It's just really pretty close, especially if you live on the southwest side of Fort Collins. Or, hey, maybe that's not necessarily your jam. You wanna ride your bike on all of the paved trails throughout Fort Collins, a platinum rated community, and take your afternoon to New Belgium, Odell's, Coopersmith's, Zwei Brewing, Otto Pint. These are places that you can go have some beer, ride your bike from there back home on paved trails, off the roads, be very safe. And something that I don't do enough of is to take advantage of that 1 million person metro that's just about an hour away. I can see all 5 professional sports if I wanted to: the Nuggets, the Avalanche, the Broncos, the Rockies, the Rapids. I can go and explore and have fun at world-class musical theaters, seeing plays, and it's just an hour down the road. And then I can make my way back to our sleepy town here in Fort Collins and enjoy a smaller population size. Horseback riding, camping, hiking, mountain biking, all of these are just fun activities that are out the back door. We went camping up Red Feather, which is just an hour away, and we got away from everyone. No cell phone service. Well, we could have if we wanted to, but no cell phone service, wonderful weather, out in the middle of nowhere. And then mountain biking out your back door, dirt bike riding up through and around the Rocky Mountain National Park through Estes, which is just 45 to 50 minutes away. And yes, we are a college, we are a university city. CSU is not a Power 5 school, but it is a Division I football, basketball program. Our volleyball, women's basketball, track are phenomenal. Basketball and football could definitely do better, but you can go and enjoy basketball, baseball, softball events, really anytime. The schedules are out, the activities are there, and it's just a good way to get involved with what is the backbone of Fort Collins, Colorado State University. And while we are having some shortfall of revenue to maintain some of these parks, and we are addressing it, there are so many amazing parks and open spaces and trails in and around, all around Fort Collins. While we don't have a great private school options in Fort Collins necessarily, our public schools are highly sought out, very strong, something that I went through myself, which, judge for yourself how I turned out, but something that I'm putting my kids through and we're excited about. And there's so many more exciting things to really know about Fort Collins. 300 days of sun. You're super close. You're the craft brewing capital of the world, essentially, for craft breweries. There's just so many different things that make Fort Collins special. I didn't even talk about Old Town, the alleys, and special things like that. But really what I wanted to get down to was, are these cons things that you can live with? Are the pros things that you can enjoy? And ultimately, is Fort Collins right for me. It might be right and proper and the best place for so many different people, but after hearing those lists, you kind of like, you're like, you know what? I really just don't want to deal with snow, period, ever, never again in my life. So that just is not going to be it for me. Or, hey, you know what? I absolutely dig everything that was just said. And that first question is going to allow me to now do the further research that I need to. You can watch so many other of my videos that might give you more additional information that dives down into some of the pros and cons and things that you might want to explore, first move advice, first trip advice. Hopefully, you have a plethora of information and information at your hands. If you have any questions or you are considering moving here, never hesitate to reach out. I appreciate you watching this video and others. Give it a comment, a like, a thumbs up, maybe even share it with somebody else who might be considering moving to Northern Colorado. Until next time, take care.